Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hello MJ friends, lots going on in the space. Good way to start off the year. Lots of gains out there, both in the US and in Canada. We started the day with the US standing out front yet again like it did on the last trading day we had on Monday. But then Canadian MJ showed up in a big way. And Canadian MJ was responding to a significant oil move and a significant buying of the gap down open in the S&P 500. So I'm going to talk about a trade that I made in CGC. I made a swing entry in the later afternoon, or later morning, I should say, but my reasoning for it had nothing to do with CGC and everything to do with correlations. So essentially the order of events that played out is oil had a huge bull move with huge volume, breaking to a daily higher high. SPY was following along with oil, saw buying of the dip and a 5-minute uptrend for the first 2 hours of the trading day. Both of those things combined with seeing CRON with a convincing bull move to negate the bear flag on the daily. If you've been watching these videos, you've been hearing me talk about these bear flags and saying bulls need to negate these with a solid push up, and we saw CRON do it. So the fact that at that point we had not broken CGC's 2806, so the fact that oil saw a bull break, SPY saw a bull break, and CRON was already proving itself, and APHA was also as well, but that was a little bit different because they had someone on TV from their company, so that provided a boost. But once I saw CRON doing it, I said, all right, we got oil good, SPY good, CRON's leading the way. I'm getting into CGC here, anticipating that the odds with all those three events is extremely likely that CGC is going to break 2806. So I entered at about 2780 and then just held all day because my plan was to hold for a weekly bounce, because I'm saying to myself, all right, if these daily bear flags are going to be negated, we're going to look for a weekly bounce and for weekly lower highs to be set. Anything for CGC under 35.18 is just a lower high. There's some solid space to work with within there, but if SPY gets continuation on this daily bounce with a break of 251.40 tomorrow, again, watch my SPY videos. I talked about on Midas Letter the last time I was on there about how oil and SPY are going to be important for the MJ sector to get a bounce going, but this bounce is now going. So we're watching hourly consolidation on names, and so far it's pretty healthy. This is a bull flag on CGC at the end of the day, a break of 29.30, and we're going to look up towards 30 psychological tomorrow if we get continuation from the market. Again, it's important. SPY breaks 251.40, but bottom line is we had a good day in MJ today. We're also noticing small caps get huge pushes. So names like N and EAT, where it takes a few $1 million to run the price 50%. Whereas a few $1 million on CGC, you might run the price 30 cents. So it's a very significant difference in that kind of stock that's being run right now. And we're seeing all these low cap names with significant high percentage pumps because they move so easily with dollar volume. And that's one of the reasons that I like the USMJ sector and I'm paying close attention in 2019 is because a lot of them, most of them are not traded on real exchanges. They're traded on the OTC. They don't have great liquidity, so if that buying pressure comes in, I think I talked about this last video, if that surge of buying pressure comes in, they move fast. That's what's happening with these small cap Canadian names as well. So temporary bottoms are being hit, but don't forget to zoom out to the weekly time frames and look to see, is this bounce just giving us a lower high? We need trend changes on the daily, we need trend changes on the weekly, but it's certainly a good start for now. So I plan on holding CGC. At this point, it would take, if the daily chart gets overextended and we see in the next couple of days a move into the $32 range, I'd probably lock in profit because we're so extended heading into resistance. But at this point, I'm going to be ideally setting a stop at break even as soon as I can and trying to let it ride as long as possible. So here's CRON with its significant bull move. Again, it proved that its bear flag was no longer intact before anybody else, and this was a significant reason why I entered CGC before it made a bull break. Hourly consolidation on CRON at the end of the day, very healthy bull flag as well. Let's look at this support. So CGC support is going to be 26, make that 28.68. CRON support is going to be 11.14, and the bulls want to see a break of 1144. And if we break 1144, 1181 is the next resistance level to be watching. So the weekly higher low looks established on Cron, and it looks like we're going to see a weekly equilibrium because anything under 1395 is just a lower high, and we're going to look for a tightening range on the weekly time frame for Cron as we trade through January. APHA formed another little daily higher low, so anything above our last little higher low attempt, and actually I want to get the US ticker because we have one extra trading day in there, because the higher low is 531, and now we have another one at 545. We held support, and then the bulls showed up. So now they need a break of 637. That's the most important short-term resistance to keep this little higher low, higher high pattern intact. And as far as the hourly support on APHA, 595. So at this point, Cron is the strongest on the daily time frame, in my opinion, and CGC and APHA following along a little bit. APHA is really doing its own thing to a certain degree, again, because of all the drama, and it's doing, the gap up open because of the buyout attempt and all that stuff going on. So it's a little bit different, but in terms of correlating all these different tickers and seeing where they stand, we can look at ACB and say, yeah, bulls bought the dip today, but we didn't break the high of the bounce at this point of 722. So you compare that to Cron and CGC, who blew through their resistances. It's a big difference. So the bulls have to break 722 tomorrow to try and see some catch up. Consolidation at the end of the day, again, a bull flag. Support is 704, resistance is 717, and the key level is 722 because it still is a potential bear flag at this point. It's changing shape a little bit. It's likely to not be a bear flag now that we're seeing its peers in the sector not be bear flags, but still need that follow through to try and get that bounce. And then we'll have a weekly tightening range to be watching on ACB. So I'm watching the tightening ranges on both Cron and ACB on the weekly with our low, high of the bounce, held support, and anything under 831 is a lower high to see a continued tightening range. I'd love to see that get real tight and then give us a bull break at the end of January. TLRY, also a nice daily equilibrium. And if the setup is here, I might even look to play TLRY, where we have our low, high, higher low, lower high of resistance. 77.27 is the key level to break. And we double bottom down here, 67.77, 67.66. So if the bulls can turn around and break 77.27, at this point, that would require a 10% bull move, so I take that back. If we were to break bullish from here, the bulls would be too extended for me to be interested, having, needing to go 10% just to break resistance. I want the equilibriums to be as tight as possible so that when the breaks occur, we get significant follow through. If a name has to bounce, 10, 20, 30% before we even get to resistance, we know that once we break that resistance, we're probably not going to see nearly as much follow through. So that plays right into what we're watching on all these USMJ names, because they have some really nice equilibriums forming, but we want to see lower highs. Unless you're already in a position, of course. But if you are in cash, like KSHB, beautiful follow through, still very strong, increasing bull volume, close at the high of the day. A lot of these names are setting up for the potential of a gap up open. Gap ups, as we know, want to be cautious. We want to be selling into strength on these low cap names because they can drop from $6 to $4.40 just as easily as they can go from $4.40 to $6. It's just dependent on where momentum is headed. But once you're in that momentum, it gets significant in terms of percentage moves. But the bottom line is if we top out and don't break $6, we're going to look to pull back and form a higher low. And again, we'll be tightening. If we break $6 from here, we've already bounced from $4.37 and we'll be through $6. And at that point, that is well over a 20% move. That's pushing, a 40% move, and it's way too overextended. So if you're already in, it's great, but if you're not in a position, you don't want to be entering on a bull break of $6 if we were to just do it, tomorrow or Friday. So the ideal scenario is for these equilibriums to get tight as possible for the clear break and clear follow through. MedMen was a lead bull today. It's forming an equilibrium as well. Base of support down at 254, and anything under 361 is a lower high. So people with cash want to see a lower high compared to 361, a higher low, perhaps around $3, and then a bull break. But if we break 361 from here, same thing. We've already bounced so significantly, 40%, that it doesn't really leave a whole lot of follow through for the bulls to have once that resistance does break. The bottom line is momentum is clearly shifting. we have to zoom out to weekly timeframes and note that weekly trend changes are not happening anytime soon because they need higher lows and higher highs. And daily trend changes are possibly changing, which is obviously a sigh of relief for the bulls. But opportunity is here. As long as SPY stays strong, we're going to be looking for the MJ space to have a decent January. And a lot of these names are showing us that volume. You know, the fact that MedMen has the highest volume on the US side of things in the last month is notable on such a bullish day. CURA, this is one that I might look to play tomorrow because key resistance is right here. Resistance is 690 and then 710, and here we are at 690. So if we break these resistance levels, we're then looking up at 732 and a clear lack of resistance after that. And when I look at the weekly time frame here, we have our low, we held that low, and now we're looking for a weekly bounce to take place. So the all-time low has been set for now, in my opinion, and there is some potential for follow-through. If I were to make an entry, again, the bulls being so extended here that I would be looking for just a short-term trade and a flip, but we're getting a little bit of FOMO in this space because these small caps that don't require a lot of volume are moving so significantly. And that's why when I'm talking about, you know, which space we're looking at, US or Canadian MJ, I think the percentage gains and opportunity is in the US MJ sector now. And that's because the Canadian MJ sector is old news to the degree that that hype is long gone. We're already on major exchanges. We already have huge institutional traders, institutional investors involved. Liquidity is huge as well. So again, the bottom line is if you put, let's see, Cura, 328,000 at $7. So we're talking a couple million to move the price very significantly, 8% or so. And if you want to move the price 8% on CGC, you know, you need over $100 million traded. So the percentage gains in names that are more thinly traded and not on large exchanges and don't have all this liquidity with market makers creating this market, it's the small names that are going to see these bigger percentage gains. And that's obviously what attracts a lot of attention from retail traders as well. Big money quickly. Big gains quickly, I should say. So key resistance on CURA is going to be coming first thing. If we gap up above those resistance levels, I'll be less interested. But if we break 690 first thing, that's the potential for an entry for a quick flip. And again, on these smaller cap names, I use smaller capital because the percentage moves are so much more significant. IAN is another one that's forming an equilibrium with our low, high of the bounce, higher low. Anything under 648 is a lower high. We want to see this get the tighter, the better before a clear break. And I would expect with a name that still needs another 10% plus after already bouncing so significantly that the odds of a lower high are more likely than not on a name like this. Whereas a name like, you know, MedMen and KSHB, maybe they do have this momentum to see continuation. And last, CWeb, again, another equilibrium. So obviously I'm focused on all these equilibriums and tightening ranges. A little bit of an upper wick today. Maybe that's our lower high. If we pull back a bit more the next couple days, we'll be looking for a higher low to form and for a continued tightening range to give us that clear break sometime in mid-January. So bottom line is Canadian MJ, let's just say MJ in general, bulls showing up today in a big way. The major Canadian MJ names negating the possibility of daily bear flags. So that means we zoom out and just look for weekly lower highs to form on these bounces. Again, we're not going to change weekly trends anytime soon on these major names. It's going to take another 3 or 4 weeks at a bare minimum because we have to bounce, top out, pull back, form a higher low, and then see a higher high to change the weekly trend. But, no but, it's not what I meant to say. So that's what we're watching on the major Canadian MJ names. The US MJ names, a lot of them are forming daily equilibriums and tightening ranges and are approaching key resistance. We're going to be watching the next couple days if they're able to break these resistances, already being overextended, or if they're going to reject and need to consolidate for another higher low. And then we have the small cap Canadian MJ names with big time bull moves that, again, let's just pull up a chart, but they're just going nuts because it doesn't take any volume to make them go nuts. I mean, look at this bounce on EAT. The total dollar volume today, if we're just going to estimate, and we'll say the average was maybe 30 cents, and we're talking 5 million, we're looking at less than $2 million traded to see a huge bull move. We've already gapped up open twice. And again, if you are in a small cap name like this, you want to be selling into strength, knowing that you will be able to reload cheaper. So the weekly key resistance on EAT is 3.7. Anything under 3.7 is a lower high, but this is a very significant bounce, setting the temporary bottoms on these low cap names that have bounced such a significant percent. At this point, we are up, well over 150% from the lows on EAT, and to fall back and break to a lower low from this point is very unlikely to happen anytime soon. So everybody is hoping that weekly consolidation is coming to an end in the sector. We're getting initial signs that weekly bounces are underway, absolutely. But as far as weekly trend changes, it's not going to happen anytime soon. It's going to take at least another, like I said, another month or so. But bottom line is the bulls do have opportunity. We'll see how long I hold this CGC swing. Keeping an eye on CURA tomorrow and watching all these key resistances, not because I'm going to play any bull breaks of these key resistances, but because I want them to reject to stay in tightening ranges to give a better break of a tighter range later in the month. Appreciate you watching. Congrats to the bulls, and we'll see how long we can keep this momentum up. Keep your eye on oil and SPY as always. We'll see you tomorrow. Low, high, higher, low, lower, high, higher, low, 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 low, high, higher, low, lower, high, higher, low.